Hey, everybody, it's Anna. Um, I don't know if my sound's working, so let me know if you can't hear me. So welcome to the live stream for the full moon. Today is the full moon, the April full moon, and it is often called the pink moon. Although during our new moon live stream a couple weeks ago, I was researching the pink moon and I found another name for this moon, and it was the sucker moon, which it's from the Abishabe tradition. Hey, JR, you can hear me. Good. Always the first person to tell me they can hear me, I'm happy to hear from. So anyway, I was really drawn into the idea of calling this full moon the sucker moon because in the tradition of the Abishabe, I feel like I'm not saying that right. But this is the time of year when the sucker fish come back into the rivers and they clean out the rivers. The idea of kind of cleaning things out. And we talked in the new moon about cleaning out the debris because this is the spring in the northern hemisphere, not in the southern hemisphere. In the northern hemisphere where I am, this is the springtime. So we clear out the old debris. We pass through winter, clean out the old stuff so that there's a really hospitable space for new things to grow. So that was sort of the theme for the new moon was what do we need to do to sort of clean out the space so we're ready to come into the springtime. Hi, FB. So I pulled some cards the last time I pulled. The question was, what do we want to release or clean out? I think that was some kind of question. And what I had was the Two of Cups, the Empress reversed, and the Ace of Swords reversed. And it took me a long time to figure out how that was going to play out. Uh, so I will tell you in the last couple weeks, I have started some new things, but I'm completely confused about why I'm starting them. Right. So there's some things I've started to pick up on. I've started to learn something new. And my mind's like, I have no idea why we're doing this, which happens to me. It's not uncommon for me to get these sort of instincts and start leaning into them and not know them, not know where it's going to lead. And I thought about so in order to figure out these instincts, right? In order to hear our intuition when it's talking to us, we need to really learn the voice of our intuition. And I thought about like the cards that I pulled. The Two of Cups is about partnership, right? And it's about like loving someone with your full heart. And I think that's about knowing someone. Like, and I think to me, I'm applying it to myself, like really knowing myself, recognizing the nature of my intuitive voice. The Empress reversed is sort of the Empress is the creative force, and the reversal kind of connects to the High Priestess. That's about rooting in. It's about feeling in your body the thing that is brewing and trusting that energy. And then the Ace of Swords is sort of, swords is about the mind. Ace is like, we're starting a new thing. And the reversal is kind of like, but what are we starting? So there is this sort of, I won't call it a dilemma, but it's a situation when you are intuitive led, when you're not mind led, when you're intuitive led, which most people who follow me are intuitive led. The challenge is you do get these instincts that seem a bit random and they don't have a natural playing out as you can understand it. And you have to learn to hear the voice of that and to trust it and move anyway, even though you've got no actual understanding of that. So to me, the clearing out for me is sort of like spending time paying attention to how my intuition speaks and following it, even though it doesn't make sense. So, oh, I'm glad you bought my book, Effie. I hope you like it. Hi, Ray. So, and that's something that keeps coming up with my clients as well, right? We're kind of like, well, I feel like I want to do this thing. And I'm like, well, then you just start doing it. You just start doing the thing that you hear in your intuition, even though you don't know where it's going. And so but to do that, you have to have cultivated a familiarity with that voice. So you know when it's talking. So I'll give you an example of what I started doing the last 2 weeks. I started learning Irish, the Irish language. No idea. I remember a couple of years ago, I was thinking about taking Irish then. And I actually bought my son a lifetime's contractor membership to Rosetta Stone. And at the time, I looked and saw if they had Irish, and they didn't. But this week, 2 weeks ago, I thought, I'm going to check Rosetta Stone again. They have Irish now. Now, there's no reason to learn Irish. There's no logical reason because even people in Ireland all speak English. No one outside Ireland speaks Irish. It's not a language that has any really practical functioning. And my mind, and it's really hard. Okay, it's really hard. And so my mind's like, what are we doing this for? It's a really hard language. It's hard to read. It's hard to speak. It doesn't intuitively match any other languages I know. So it is like a completely separate venture. And my mind's saying, why are we doing this? And I'm like, I don't know, mind. I don't know. I'm just telling you we need to learn Irish. And as we're learning it, and it is hard, and I can feel a little bit of frustration creeping in, I keep checking in, and my intuitive voice is, yeah, yes, keep going. Yes, keep going. So I'm still getting a yes on this one, right? So it's funny. It's funny how now I have no doubt at some point this will click in somewhere and I will see why I'm learning Irish. Okay. Even my mind believes that. My mind has enough experience with my intuition that it's like, okay, girl, I know, I know you got a plan. I don't see the plan yet, but I know you got a plan. So now, if I was being logical, if I let my mind be logical, it would say this is a lot of work. There's really a very slim chance of success here because it's so hard. And what could the payoff possibly be? There's lots of logical arguments, and I'm aware of the arguments, but they're not running the show because my mind at this point is very familiar with my intuitive process. And so it doesn't throw up objections the way it used to. So in my last 2 weeks, I feel like that's what I've been working on is helping the mind kind of dig it, kind of re-up, right? Buy into this in an even deeper way, because this is the most irrational thing I've probably ever done. So, oh, Shy Crane? You're looking at Rosetta Stone for Spanish? I love Spanish. Spanish is like, it's a Latin-based, I speak Spanish. So that's a Latin-based language. It's a lot more intuitive, and, it's a lot more practical. So it's good to learn Spanish. Yeah, Irish is crazy hard. It's crazy hard. It's really complicated. I went to Ireland when I was in college on a school trip. I was like a class trip, and no one there speaks. In fact, it was a dying language. They were working to revitalize it as part of the Irish culture. And now the signs are all in English and Irish, because intentionally trying to intentionally sort of provoke learning of the language. So what I'm trying to say is, as I've said, I don't know what the function of this is yet, And I don't tell a lot of people. I'm telling all of you, but I don't tell a lot of people when I'm following my intuition, because I know unless that person really gets me, they're going to be like, "What? Why are you doing that?" And actually, at this point, that doesn't really bother me because my mind's used to that as well. It's used to people being like, "What are you doing?" So, JR, my family's Portuguese, but I have little patience to practice. I'm not I'm not a patient person. I'm more of an intuitive person, right? So instead of doing daily repetition, which is what requires patience, I do better with intuitive leaps. So the fact that I'm doing this and I have to kind of keep doing it and keep doing it, I keep waiting for my energy to fail me on this one. But when I learned the tarot, I was like, am I going to be able to pull this off? And I did. My energy stayed intact. So that's one of my signs, but I can't learn things I don't feel called to learn. Does that make sense? Like I have to have that intuitive sort of, that intuitive juice pumping. And as long as my intuitive juice is pumping, I can keep going. If I get bored or I get disconnected from that, then I won't finish it. And that's actually a lot of intuitives have that challenge as well, is that, you can do something for a while and then you lose your juice and you may not complete that. And especially if the mind doesn't know how to work with that, you might think, oh, I failed to complete something, when really you might be resting for a while. So there's so much to learn when you're not a linear person. Your mind has to learn almost an entirely new language, right? Because the intuition will move, it will rest, it will randomly jump to another subject, it'll come back, and at some point it'll tie everything together. And all of this is something that the mind doesn't understand and can't anticipate. So it is kind of like you're following around this wild young genius and seeing how they put things together. So anyway, hi Patty and Maria and Lisa, or I think it's Lisa, or maybe it's Liza Pope. Yeah. FB says you speak Portuguese, my first language. It's funny because I met a person who spoke Portuguese. Well, they're from Brazil, so I think that's a form of Portuguese. But they spoke Portuguese and I spoke Spanish, and we were able to pull off sort of a conversation. At least they're connected. I mean, as opposed to Irish. So anyway, so that was my work in the past couple weeks, and a couple other things like learning Irish have come up. Like again, my mind's like, oh man, that doesn't seem connected at all, and that's a totally different thing. Like someone in our town was selling a dulcimer, and I was like, oh, I need that dulcimer. I need a dulcimer. I don't know how to play a dulcimer, but it was very clear I needed a dulcimer. So now I have a dulcimer. So anyway, I'm just trying to say it looks like a very scattered, well, it is kind of a scattered process, but it's scattered with a purpose. It's just that I don't see the purpose. My mind doesn't see the purpose yet. So anyway, so that's what I'm finagling with this pink moon, the sucker moon, however you want to refer to it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a 3-card spread for this full moon. If you want to pull your own spread, you can do that, or you can use mine, whatever you want to do. And because we're starting the full moon and the sucker moon, I like the sucker moon. I'm going to keep referring to it as the sucker moon. The sucker moon is like cleaning out all the stuff, making the path clear so that we can, well, the pink moon is about planting and like blooms coming up, right? So we can make it the pink sucker moon. What is it now that we cleared the way? And we've got all this energy. It's like everything's ripe and ready to get started. What are we going to plant? What are we going to create in the pink moon? So I wanted to use my 3-card spread, which is I think 3-card spreads, to be honest, are more effective. 3 or 4-card spreads are more effective than longer spreads. They're quick, they're easy to digest. And because I don't use the cards to predict the future, I use them for guidance. Like, give me 3 action steps. That's enough guidance, right? Give me some today. When I'm done with those action steps, I'll get 3 more. To me, it's very workable. And it also feels like it's enough for you to chew on. So we're going to do a 3-card spread, and we're going to do the start, stop, continue. I really love that spread because I think it's got some guidance and it's got affirmation, because the continue card is like, you're already doing this. Keep doing this. Right. So the start, stop, continue. That's how we're going to do it. Start, stop, continue. So I've already shuffled my cards. You guys know I do that in advance. The start card for me is Wheel of Fortune reversed. Wheel of Fortune reversed. Okay. Well, I think of the Wheel of Fortune spread as being the lesson. It's a major arcana card. So the lesson is about kind of the moving nature of the universe and how it's not personal to us. The universe we are not the center of the universe. We are a part of the universe, but we're not the center. And things happen that have they're not responding to us, which means we're not in control of it and we're not being punished. I think that's important. Like, the universe is not stopping or changing its plans to punish you. So like letting go of the idea that there is a deity watching you and it's going to get you, but rather there is sort of a functioning to how things are working. A good portion of it has nothing to do with you, but you're still subject to it. We're part of the universe. It's in motion. So the lesson, I think, is how to be non-attached. Like, sometimes things happen that you like. Sometimes things happen that you don't like. Can you receive both with open hands? The things that you like will go away, so don't grab hold of them. The things that you don't like will also release, and so don't fight with them. Like, let them pass. It's a very Buddhist sort of way of engaging the world around us. And if the idea of having your hands open means you're not creating your own suffering, because when you get something you like and you cling to it, you're creating suffering because you're afraid of losing it, which means you're no longer really enjoying whatever this is. And also things that you don't want or you don't think you want, you're pushing away, you're resisting it and actually giving energy to it. Another thing, so when I see this card reversed, I often think of that as almost like things feel like they're working against us, like almost like we're having a series of bad luck, right? But when I see the card reverse, what it tells me is things may not be going the way you want, but you are, and I think this is part of the lesson, you are equipped. Your soul knows how to navigate the way the universe, your soul's part of the universe. It knows how to navigate the machinations of the universe. So whatever happens, whether you plan it or don't plan it, whether you want it or you don't want it, your soul knows how to navigate the challenge and find blessing inside of it, which is really a fun challenge for the mind. Because if the mind stays, so you're asking the mind to stay kind of light on its feet and to not dig into what it thinks is good, bad. We don't want the mind to get caught in its own structure of what is good for us or bad for us, what's positive, what's negative. We want the mind to realize that every experience has the potential blessing within it. Are we light enough and clever enough to find that? So when I read this card, I would say, start doing this. So, which is good because I do tend to be, I like things my way, right? and my mind can be very grumpy about it when things don't go my way. So kind of reaffirming to the mind, let's try to be light on our feet and clever and stay open to the challenge that's coming, the challenges that come that you don't like, because even things that we don't plan can still have blessing in them. Okay. That was the start card. Stop card is, 7 of Wands reversed. So 7 is about choosing. Wands are about the element of fire. They're about passion and confidence and feeling inspired. And I think of the 7 of Wands, it's like, I'm making my choice. I'm following my passion. I'm standing my ground, because you can see he's standing his ground. He's ready to defend his choice. So this card, he looks like he's ready for a fight, right? And I always think when you're ready for a fight, when you're looking for a fight, you find a fight. And also this stance kind of implies that you're expecting not to be supported. Like you're expecting to get pushed or which actually kind of feels a little like Wheel of Fortune reversed, the idea that, the universe is against me. I have to stand my ground and prove my point, right? So the reversal here, I'm going to read it as, kind of not getting caught in this sort of defensiveness in this case, because I'm saying, what do I need to stop, right? So I need to stop looking for a fight, stop engaging energy for a fight. And this is interesting because I feel like, a lot of I feel like lately, there has been less resistance around me. Like things aren't really pushing back on me very much. And I'm used to kind of having to hold my ground a bit, or at least I'm used to a fight, right? I'm kind of more used to a fight. And the fight isn't really happening as much anymore, which means there's energy available to do something else. But when you have a pattern of sort of having to take on a fight or having to push through resistance or whatever, then you're going to keep looking for the boulder to push, even though there's no boulder there. So I've noticed lately, like the fact that I'm taking on some new things to learn, and not just Irish, but other things as well, implies that I have more capacity to work with these things. I have more energy available, and I'm kind of not used to having energy available. I'm kind of used to being exhausted because I'm kind of pushing against probably my own resistance is what I'm really doing. So if I look at this reverse and say, like, the kind of the built-in expectation that I have to fight, if I can stop engaging that, then the energy that used to go into this mindset can be released and available for these other interesting things that are coming up. So I'm going to read it that way and continue. King of Swords reversed. So the king is the master energy. Swords are about the mind. And so this is the master strategizer. He's the one that you tell him what you want to accomplish. He'll get you the action steps to make it happen, right? The reversal to me is sort of like, the king doesn't really know where you're going. Like with Irish, my mind's like, I don't know. I don't even know what we're trying to do here. So it's like, I can't like plot a path for you because I don't really understand what you're doing. And so the reversal of the king is sort of like the king is waiting, or the king is willing to wait. Like he's not been given the instructions. He's not been given the goal. So he's just sort of taking it and the reversal, I think, is in deference to intuition. So he is the master of the mind, but the mind is serving the intuition. And that means because the intuition does not have a clear end point or a clear goal, the mind's job is just to follow along and make it happen. So this King of Swords, he doesn't know where we're going, but he is willing to, every day come to Rosetta Stone and open the lessons and practice and go back and re-practice and try pronunciation again. He's willing to investigate in as much as he knows how to investigate. So continue with the mind using its mastery to support the intention of the intuition. That's how I read that. So anyway, all right. So let's look and see if anybody else had anything they want to share. JR, 2 of cards fell out, which I don't know. I drop cards all the time, so I don't count the ones that fall out because I'm just clumsy. So I just think I drop the cards. So however you want to do it is fine. So you get 3 cards listed. First is the start, stop, and stop. No, start, stop, and continue. That's what I've got, right? 4 of Cups. So start, 4 of Cups. Okay, so that's about really spending time with your heart. Like in the Rider-Waite, there's the guy sitting under the tree. So it really is kind of carving out space where you're not listening to other people, where you're not other people's energy is not interfering. So you can really hear the voice of your heart and anchoring into that relationship, which is kind of what I was saying earlier about, we need to be able. The voice of the intuition is quite different usually than the voice of the mind or the voice of the world, which is kind of a parallel. It's parallel voices to the mind, because the mind is so connected to the world that it's often repeating what the world says, right? So they're kind of saying the same thing until the mind gets better at partnering with the intuition, that is. So in order to hear the intuition, we have to sort of set ourselves apart from it. And so the four of cups may be showing up because maybe you're very busy, you're staying very engaged, you're responding to lots of needs, and you need to spend a little more time like letting your heart talk to you and feeling your feelings, if that makes sense. Four of Cups, Ace of Pentacles. So stop doing Ace of Pentacles, which is sort of starting new things. And that can happen too. Like Pentacles is the physical realm. So it's like what I'm doing right now, like learning 5 different things. That's not what you want to do. So the Ace of Pentacles is sort of, learning something else, starting a new job, doing this new thing. And it could be because, especially when we're very busy, we tend to the mind gets distracted by lots of different things it wants to do. And instead we're saying, no, don't follow that instinct. Instead, go to the Four of Cups instinct. Let your heart show you where to go. And you may already be in the middle of a path the heart is interested in, or the intuition is interested in. We don't want to we don't want to throw our energy out in lots of different places unnecessarily. And continue with Nine of Wands. Oh, the Nine of Wands is the guy, who Wands is about fire and passion and everything. The Knight of Wands is the guy that's sort of resting. Like he's already been doing lots of work and he's already engaged. He's even got like a wound on his head in the Rider-Waite. So there's this idea that he's been at war. He's kind of exhausted. He's resting. So the 9 is always the integrating place where you take the time to stop, you let things settle in, you kind of learn the story, you pay attention to the story. And also, you also give yourself credit for what you've accomplished just before you step over to the 10 mark. So really the whole spread seems to be about being a little more contemplative, a little slower, a little less likely to jump at new things or distractions, and more be still and like let your heart lead. That's how I read that, maybe. Hi, Anastasia. Let's see. Hanged Man, because FB said I got Hanged Man reversed for my start card. So that's the start card. Yeah. So Hanged Man is, the energy, that suspended animation that comes in the times in our lives where the work is underground, like something big is shifting inside of us and we're hanging around waiting for that inner work to complete. And I think of the reversal as the inner work's done, which means the new path is open to us. We can see it. We're free to jump off the tree and to dance down the path. Because if you think of the Rider-Waite, the Hanged Man is upside down, right? And the reversal is he's right side up. So it's like now you're right side up, you're ready to go. So it is like you can see a new path opening. And I would say start like dancing down that path. Like whatever the instincts are, whatever the guidance is, you just start walking down the path again, even if you don't know where the path is going, you've been set up to follow that path. That'd be one way to read that start card. Oh, and on a rose beam. Okay. So first card's 3 of Pentacles reversed, which is, 3 of Pentacles is in the Rider-Waite is the young guy who's building a cathedral and he's got 2 older guys consulting with him. So it's like a team ship building card. So it's like you're starting to get some momentum flowing in what you're doing and you're getting people around you and they're supporting you. The reversal to me would be like looking for your team inside of yourself, which means maybe like recognizing that you have a lot of times we have a lot of resources we don't realize we have, and we look to other people to help us, but really we've got all these resources within ourselves. So I would say it's more like you're looking for your own momentum inside of yourself. And that's important sometimes because sometimes we're creating something other people don't understand and their guidance is going to actually pull us off our path. So it's like, trust that you know this, just keep kind of digging for your own resources. And that's how I'd read that. So instead of asking for help, kind of looking to yourself or to your own wisdom for help, I guess, moving while you're saying that. Second is stop the 10 of Swords reversed. The 10 of Swords reversed. Okay. The 10 of Swords is the guy laying flat down with the swords in his back, and it's the end of the sword's trajectory. So you've completed the work. That means your mind has released an old thing, an old way of thinking, and it's there before it is the sea and the sunrise. So it's like, okay, here's a new thing beginning, right? The reversal of that in this case, I would say, could be that your mind's stuck in that spot. Like almost like your mind's like, it finished its work and now it's like, what do I do now? This actually happens a lot with my clients. Like they release an old thing, their mind's like, well, now what do we do? Well, what do we do now? And the answer is the mind doesn't know what we do now. Now it's time for the mind to just rest and let the intuition take over. So there's a period of time after the mind finishes its work that is like a void. And because the structure is gone, there's no new structure, there's no new action steps. There's not even a new goal or destination yet. So the mind has to just sort of, it's almost like a kind of a version of Hanged Man, kind of. There's a space of suspended animation. So it's like, so that as a stop card would be, to me, would be like, stop digging into that. Like, freeing, like letting your mind know this is not a solvable problem. Quit worrying about the fact that you don't know what's going to happen next. Try to relax, try to help the mind just kind of go easy and light and trust that the new thing is coming. And there will be a time when the mind can see new action steps. But right now it needs to just sort of be in the void. So that means caring for your mind, but also like not letting it dig itself into that hole of depression or heaviness, thinking, oh, I don't know what to do next, which is very easy for the mind to do. And the Eight of Cups is the final one. So continue the Eight of Cups, which is the seeking card. The Eight of Cups is the guy leaving behind his treasures and going into the wilderness in the dark. He can't see where he's going, but he's following his heart. And the Eight is about power and flow, like the heart knows where it's going. That feels very, very similar to releasing the Ten of Swords reversed. Like the mind is blind. It doesn't know where we're going. It feels quite lost, but the heart, the intuition is not lost at all and knows right where it's going. So it's really reassuring the mind that, yeah, you don't see it, but I know where we're going. So just take my hand and I will guide you forward. That'd be one way of thinking of that. Let's see. Patty Elaine, start Two of Cups. That's that companionship, connection, communion. So that'd be like sharing your heart with someone who loves you and who you trust, and like letting your heart be really loved and anchored and nurtured, which means being vulnerable. And so you may already be doing that, but I think it could be like there may be even more of a deliberate, like bringing together of people, whether that's a soulmate or a friend or a lover, like who around you could really like love your heart and help it feel anchored in well-being. And it could also suggest that your heart's getting ready to do something. Your intuition's beginning to try to do something, and it needs a little more nurture, a little more rootedness that it gets from that connection with another person. Stop, Seven of Pentacles. That to me, when it's a stop card, the Seven of Pentacles, seven's about choosing. Pentacles is the physical realm, and the image in the Rider-Waite is the guy at the plant, that the plant's beautiful and he's been working on it, but he's pausing. And I always think of that as, it's like he's stopping going, is this really what I want to be doing? I think it's a moment of reflection and pondering, like he's trying to decide if this still matches his purpose. When it's a stop card, I would say stop doing that. Stop second guessing yourself. Stop pausing in the work. You're doing what you need to be doing. Trust the energy within yourself to keep going. So like when my mind goes, why are we learning Irish? I'm like, don't even stop. Don't even stop to ask the question. We're just going to keep on doing it, right? It's that idea of training the mind to don't put on the brakes. We got to stop and think about this. No, we don't. We got the information. We've got the guidance. We're going to keep moving with the guidance until we get new guidance to stop. That might be one way of seeing that as a stop card. And then continue, Queen of Cups. Well, the Queen of Cups is the queen of healing, right? She's on the seashore. She's inviting people, and there's a hospitality to her. She's inviting emotional struggle. And she's the healer. She's the heart healer. And I think of her as sort of drawing to herself people who are looking for healing. So people who need support and love, not just support and love. It's not just caretaking. I think it's transformative. I think she brings the energy in, and like in her heart, it kind of transforms. And at her feet are all these jewels. And I think she knows how to kind of bring in what looks like people's junk and their struggle and their pain, and helps them transform it through her love into jewels. So there is something transformative and healing about the Queen of Cups. So that would tell me that you're kind of offering this love to others and this support to others. The Two of Cups is like, make sure you deliberately give yourself space to receive that love from somebody else. So it's almost like a balancing here. You keep offering your gift, make sure you're getting the support you need so that your roots can get even stronger. And maybe you're going to this gift is going to expand. So you need to get more rooted, maybe. So FB said Hangman reverse was the first one. We did that one. Stop, Ace of Wands. So that would be, the Ace is the beginning point. Wands is about passion and energy. I would say that is similar to the Ace of Pentacles. Like your energy is being used. If there's a purpose for your energy, don't chase off, don't chase into new things. Don't, because I almost think Ace of Wands, starting something new. Well, anytime you start something new, you lose a lot of energy because you don't have a structure for it yet. You don't have a pattern. So you're creating something totally new, and it takes a lot of energy. Now that can be helpful if the energy is guiding you towards, if you're starting a new manifestation. But if it's telling you not to do that, I think it's like the manifestation's already begun. You've already started something. So don't pull energy off of this and get excited about something else just yet. Stay focused in what you're doing. And I think Hanged Man reverse would suggest that you've already kind of been through some kind of transitional period. And now Hanged Man is not an early card in the major arcana. It's pretty far in the trajectory, which means you've already been doing something for a while by the time you get to Hanged Man. So whatever you've been doing, you're going to keep doing it just in a new way. So don't jump and try a new path. Don't jump off on a side path right now. Stay where you are and keep kind of digging into the path you're in. And okay, and continue Six of Wands, which 6 is about harmony and balance. Wands are about passion and everything. I'm about to sneeze. We have lots of pollen here in North Alabama. But the image in the Rider-Waite is this guy coming to this town from a victory. He's got a wreath and he's on a horse, and they're all like, yay, they're all cheering him on. And it's like he's done this amazing thing and he's been victorious. And there's people surrounding him, excited for him. They're in harmony with him. They understand what he's done and they're so excited for him. So it's like getting that feeling harmonized and balanced and supported by others. So I would say, like, to do that even more. The people who are your cheerleaders, who are excited for you, even if they don't understand what you're doing, they don't have to understand what you're doing to be excited for you and to love you. So like kind of deliberately letting yourself take more nurture from that, letting yourself feel even more excited by that, which can be really helpful because the mind really does register that support as data. And especially with the Hanged Man, which is you're starting a new version of a path, which is a little bit strange and unusual for the mind. It's really good for the mind to have that sort of pat on your back. You're doing great. Keep going. We're so proud of you. That's good for the mind to have that register. So make sure your mind gets a lot of nurture from all that support and love. Maria, start 5 of Wands reversed. Okay, so 5 of Wands in the Rider-Waite is 5 youths that are sparring together with the wands. I always think of it as them sparring. I don't think it's really a fight. So this is almost like they're playing together. And the 5 is about challenge. So it's about this kind of evocation of crisis, but also opportunity. So the idea here is they're getting stronger and better, and their energy's coming higher and higher to the surface because they're working together, right? So it's like kind of giving yourself over to your passion and your joy. And the reversal to me would be like doing that inwardly, like releasing whatever energy you've been holding back or making small, kind of letting go of those bounds, helping yourself get into your full flow of passion and figuring out what may be blocking it. All of us have tendencies, our minds have tendencies to sort of block off our passion or try to make it reasonable. And at some point we want our minds to just trust it, to stop trying to control it or regulate it or worry about it. Just trust it, that it does know how to flow properly for what it's trying to do, and like giving yourself over to it all the way, if that makes sense. Let's see. Stop 8 of Swords reversed. Okay, so the 8 of Swords, 8's about power and flow. Swords are about the mind. The image has the lady in the Rider-Waite. I'm always talking about the Rider-Waite, who's kind of wrapped up in a bond. She's blindfolded. She's caught in this cage of swords. She looks like she's in bad shape. She's disempowered and everything, but it's an 8 card. So really the challenge of the card is to realize that she's not really trapped. She thinks she's trapped, but if she could just be a little flexible, shake a little bit, these bonds, she's very loosely bound. If she would just shake a little, they would fall off, and she could take off her blindfold and she would see the cage is not really a cage. There's like a huge opening there. She's standing in water too in the Rider-Waite, which means the intuition is like singing to her, hey, you're not really stuck. If you can just be a little more flexible, you get yourself free. So the reversal to me is almost the mind saying, oh, it's impossible. Almost like the mind's doubling down in this sort of, we can't move. It's not quite learning the lesson of its own mastery. So if you can help the mind not be such a gloomy Gus, like stop being a gloomy Gus mind, there's excitement here, there's possibility. And actually the 5 of Wands reverse is like, there's flow, there's power. This is the nature of who we are, not the stuckness. That's just a misunderstanding or a misreading of what's happening. If you mind could just agree to be free and like free, shake yourself free, you discover you're part of the party. So maybe that's the way to read the 8 of Swords reversed. And also Ace of Swords is to continue. So that's like the ace is like the mind starting something new. The mind's getting clever. It's learning something new. And it also, it reminds me of the Page of Swords, right? It's that energy that's like, ooh, let's get into some, let's be flexible and let in new things. So I think interestingly enough, the eight of Swords, the Eight of Swords and the One of Swords have similar energy because they're both about the mind discovering something you didn't know. The hardest mind to work with is a mind that's sure it's right. I had a client not long ago that was, her mind was very clear that she knew everything. And I was like, well, I was able to help a little bit, but my mind was like, I don't know. She knows everything. And that's because that's a mind that's not very flexible for a reason. There's reasons why minds are not flexible. There's reasons why they're kind of dug in, but a mind that's dug in doesn't have a lot of flexibility. So the Eight of Swords is like the mind feeling pretty stuck and going, wait a minute, I'm not stuck. And the One of Swords is like, well, let's learn something new. So I think they're kind of supporting each other in that way. Okay, so Katie, she says it's starting the King of Cups reversed. So the King of Cups is the master energy of the intuition, and he's the one who sits on the little island, and the waves are stormy around him, but his island stays secure. And so he is the one that receives all the emotional drama and heartbreak, all the things that we might think of as problematic. He just very calmly receives them. He's hospitable to them. He knows how to bring them into peace, bring them into wisdom, and also release any excess energy. So he's not scared of the energy. He's very, very deeply loving and stabilizing, even though the stuff around him is rocky, right? And the reversal to me is an internalization of this mastery. So it's like realizing you're the master of this and kind of acknowledging that you're not afraid. You know how not to be afraid of emotions and drama. You know how to kind of see through it, pierce through it, and make loving space for it all to settle. It's similar to the queen and the king are, there's similar energies in that way. It's about helping people kind of find helping yourself find that, you can figure out the path through the storm, if that makes sense. Stopping the Hanged Man. So I would say the stopping the Hanged Man is similar to the starting the Hanged Man reverse, which is you're done hanging upside down. You've been in the time of resting. You've been in the suspended animation. The shifting has occurred. The new orientation has appeared. You don't have to wait anymore. You can just jump off that tree, the tree of life, and dance down the path. So it's like, yeah, just start going. You're ready. You're ready to start going. That's how I'd read that. And continue Three of Pentacles reversed. Three of Pentacles showed up before. The idea of, there's building momentum. We're in the middle of creating something. Pentacles are the physical realm, things we can see and taste and touch. So we're manifesting something. The momentum's getting higher, and realizing the reversal to me is like, and I have the resources. I can figure out how to do this. There are definitely times in our lives where we want to let other people support us. Absolutely. We need extra perspective, something. We need some extra support. The reversal, though, is realizing that, the reversal comes, I think, when the resources we need to find them within ourselves. And that can happen because we're feeling insecure, and we need to kind of double down in confidence in ourselves. And it can also be that what we're doing is a little bit new and innovative, and other people are not going to understand. And if you ask for their help, they're just going to throw you off because they'll be like, what are you doing? and the mind doesn't really need to be told that what you're doing seems crazy. We don't want to, we know what we're doing is a little bit odd or a little bit, unforeseen. And the mind already knows that. So we don't need to validate to the mind that this is crazy. We want to instead focus on knowing we know what we're doing, if that makes sense. So let's see. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. So Shakran, oh my gosh, there's so many of you. Okay, start the Knight of Wands. Oh my goodness, Wands is about fire and passion energy. Knights are about taking action. So it's like, do the things, the passion, the things that you want to do, what you're being led to do, just start doing them, follow them, take the action steps that are there because they're there. It means that there is something to do. There's things you can do. You just start doing them because the Knight of Wands is very committed, very confident, very excited. So let that momentum carry you. Let yourself be joyful and follow your passion. Stop the Page of Cups reversed. So the Page of Cups reversed is that the energy, the youngster who's holding the cup and listening to the fish. And it's about listening to your intuition, really listening for the unusual voice, right? Speaking to you, it's sort of an odd voice. The reversal, though, to me is you already have the message. Don't keep listening for your intuition. It's like you've got your message. start going. Don't keep waiting to get the message. A lot of times people will tell me, "Oh, I can't hear my intuition." And I'm like, "Well, what do you think you want to do?" And they'll have an answer. I'm like, "Well, that's your intuition. Now you just have to execute it." Right? And so it's not that they don't know, it's that they're kind of delaying. And if you delay in following your intuitive voice, you do kind of communicate lack of confidence, and your mind gets a chance to really doubt itself. And so there is something about the Knight of Wands just going, yes, let's go. Like, you kind of want to start getting good at getting the message and sort of immediately moving, because it teaches, it's like you're teaching the mind to be confident, if that makes sense. And oh wait, I think you got too far down. Let me make sure. Whoops, hold on, not yet. Okay, I think I went too far. Oh no. I think your last is continue the 5 of Wands reversed. Is that right? I think that's right, because you're almost off my screen now. And we did the 5 of Wands already. 5 of Wands reversed, the idea of really bringing that energy, the passion up within yourself. The reversal is about like removing the barriers to your passion, like whatever the checkpoints are, the stop points are, just kind of releasing them and helping your mind, telling your mind it's going to be fine, nothing bad's going to happen. If your mind is afraid of what's going to happen, you just talk it out with your mind. What's the bad thing that's going to happen if I do this? What are you afraid is going to happen? And usually, even just by the mind telling you what it's afraid of, it realizes, because what the mind's always afraid of is actually dying. So when you say, well, what if I go out and read poetry at the coffee house, I bring my poetry, what's the terrible thing that's going to happen? Your mind's like, ultimately it's afraid you're going to die, right? Well, you're not going to die. So that's taken care of. But like, I'll look silly, and being able to say, well, I think I'm okay with looking silly. What if we're okay with looking silly? What if we are? What if that's okay? Like helping the mind sort of unpack the things, because when the mind doesn't talk about things out loud, it's like anything that you don't like explore. It's the big scary thing in the closet, right? But when you get the mind to come out of the closet and say, "Tell me exactly what you're scared of," the more it talks and you're accompanying it, you're having the conversation, the more the mind goes, "Oh, well, actually, that's not so scary." So if there are barriers or ways the mind is stopping this sort of burst of energy or burst of passion, we just want to help the mind realize that those are based on unfounded fears for the most part. You might be embarrassed. That's fair, but we have to agree to that sometimes. Like, that's part of the journey. Often it's being embarrassed or even failing. That's part of the journey. So the scary thing is it's just a bit of discomfort, a bit of challenge. It's not death, basically. It's not death, So anyway, so let's see. Annie, she says, start the sun. Oh my gosh. Well, of course, the sun. The sun is about realizing you are the sun. I think the sun is about realizing you're constantly the center of blessing. The sun is always shining. You're always getting, you're unconditionally loved, and you are a reflection of that unconditional love, which means even when you're feeling grumpy and horrible, you are like, the sun is sometimes covered up with the clouds, still the sun, the light and warmth and life is still coming to the earth. And I think that's sort of, the sun is like I consider it kind of the pinnacle of the major arcana journey, which is realizing, oh, I'm working really hard to get conscious of my gifts and to agree to my gifts. All that's good. That means the mind is sort of coming on board. Even when the mind's not on board, you are the center of giftedness. That's true about you unequivocally. So kind of like helping so it doesn't matter if you're doing a good job, if you have a good attitude, if you're trying to show up, it doesn't matter, because you are the sun. So I love that card as a lesson. So yeah, that's interesting. Stop the 10 of Wands. 10 of Wands. So the 10 of Wands is that guy carrying the wands. It's the finish point of the wands. So it's about your passion. You've accomplished your passion. You've got this harvest. You're carrying it to the town. But he's like bent over. It's like, oh, I'm working so hard. So I always think of the wands trajectory as like, yeah, the people are struggling kind of hard toward the end of the trajectory. And that can lead to the mindset that I have to work really hard to prove myself to get my blessing to the market. So like being able to say, no, you don't. What if you don't? What if you don't have to work that hard? What if, not that you don't have to engage energetically, but you shouldn't be exhausted. If you're exhausted, you're burning up some other fuel somewhere. You don't have to fight to do this. You're built to do this. Almost like the message of the sun. You are the sun. You don't have to try to be the sun. You don't have to work at being the sun. You can trust your natural blessedness and your natural giftedness to carry you through. So that would be how I'd read this, especially in connection with the other card. And continue 8 of Wands. Okay, so 8 of Wands is like, the 8 of Wands is the last like happy wands. because it's like it's flying through the air. The wands are flying through the air. They're unstoppable. They're on site. They're on path. They're following your passion. You're really Bates is about full flow, right? So it's like continue to let your energy flow. Let your energy flow. Don't interrupt it with how am I going to do this? Should I be working harder? What am I doing wrong? That's the mind creating almost the resistance that we're seeing in the 10 of Wands, right? Like, oh, I have to fight. Or you don't have to fight. Let yourself flow. If there is a real challenge, you will encounter it, right? But don't create the challenge because you expect the challenge. Does that make sense? Instead, realize you don't have to fight this hard. The more relaxed you can be, actually, not only is it better for you, but the blessing flows more cleanly. So there is no benefit to working harder in the spiritual realm. So hopefully that's helpful. Hi, Patty. So I've been enjoying these lives. Appreciate you sharing your wisdom and perspective. Yeah, I'm happy to do it. Continuing the magic. So can I ask a question? Sure. Oh, down here you say, how do I pull cards? You just pull them. I mean, I can't tell you how, right? Because that's there is some kind of pattern. I can tell you how I do it. I shuffle them. If I drop them, I pick them back up. I don't treat my cards when I drop them like they jumped out because I'm just very messy with my cards. And then I'll shuffle until in my mind, I see a line in the middle of the cards and I cut the cards at that line and that's my pull. And my mind has asked me many times, doesn't do it anymore, but for a long time, my mind said, did you do that right? Did you cut it in the right spot? Yeah, because there's no logic to this. This is just you trusting yourself that, so it's however, so it's about following your intuition and silencing the mind because the mind doesn't know how this works. I can't give the mind, maybe someone else can give you the mind, the right structure, the right combination. My mind doesn't get access to that. My mind does not know why the line appears or like how we're cutting it. So I can't speak to the mind and say, oh, if you just do it this way every time, you'll be great. You already know how to do this. If you're called to the tarot, you already know how to pull the cards. Your mind just has to learn to trust you. I don't know if that's helpful, but that's how I pull the cards, and my mind trusts me now more or less because I've done it for so long. But for a long time, my mind would challenge it every time I'd pull cards. So Maria, I'm a longtime fan. Thank you for being your amazing self. Yeah, well, good. I'm so glad. I'm glad this has been helpful. Yay. Okay. So Annie says, thank you. Okay. I was just saying the email's anything else to say. I get to create a relaxed state and let the blessing flow from my heart. Absolutely. And when we say that, I say it sounds easy. It is easy in the sense that you're built to do it that way. The challenge is always tending to the mind and helping the mind feel okay about it because you're asking the mind to do something different than the minds around it are doing. So there is this is a real task. Of course, it's a much easier task to be yourself than to try to be somebody else, right? It's always easier to be yourself than to be somebody else. That doesn't make it easy though, because keeping your mind in a relaxed state, there's the journey. That's actually most of the work. Is your mind going, are we being lazy? Should we do something else? Did we do that right? Do we, what are they going to think? All that. And the mind doesn't stop doing that. It gets more relaxed. It gets better. It learns to trust you more and more. But the mind never just goes, oh, I understand what we're doing. I am totally cool. That's your life's commitment to your mind is to take care of it while it's doing this really hard thing. So my clients do great. I have amazing clients, but I worked with them for years and they're like, why is my mind still struggling? I'm like, because it's the human part of you and it's doing really hard work and we shouldn't be frustrated or grumpy with it. We should be loving to it because this is really hard. It's really hard to walk in faith when you live in a world that's mainly linear and logical. You're speaking a different language than everybody else and your mind feels kind of lonely and confused sometimes. So it is easier, but it still has its own, we have to be committed in our own way to making it work. So, let's see. I always yawn when I start to shuffle the tarot. That at some point, well, there you go. You're yawning. It's funny because I actually have clients who are body intuitives. I don't know if you're a body intuitive, but while we're working, often we're doing like healing or they start yawning. And that's a signal that energy is sort of freeing up and releasing. So that's really cool. That's a cool message you're picking up. I'm a hard intuitive, so I just do it differently, but I think that's really fun. So it's like, yeah, that's your signal. And so anyway, well, I guess that's it for me for today. Feel free. I didn't actually remember to do follow-ups last time, but I'll try to as my 2 weeks go on. If I feel, if I do get kind of inspired by the spread, I might share it with you. Feel free to share yours. And I guess we'll see each other at the next new moon. Okay. Let's say, is there any good instruction for the 10 card spread? Like the Celtic cross? I mean, I've done the Celtic cross a lot. Any good I mean, you just have to, it has to make sense to you, right? It's a pattern. It's a complex pattern. And depending on how comfortable you are with how comfortable your mind is playing with the patterns, I don't know. Usually any spread will end up kind of having a pattern that I can read finally, just because I've done it for so long. I just don't see, I think people think a 10 card spread is more valuable. Because it's more. It's like we say, oh, it's better to work harder than to work easier, and that'll produce a better product. It's not true. 3 and 4 card spreads are the most effective spreads, in my opinion, because they're easy, they're quick, and they're bite-sized. So yeah, people ask for this Celtic, and I'll give it to them. But I mean, I just think it takes a lot of time, a lot of energy for them to absorb, as opposed to the 3 cards. So yeah, absolutely. You can always 10 card spreads, as long as like the Celtic has certain questions that are connected to each of the pieces. I do like the Celtic. It's kind of like running a marathon. It's kind of fun to do occasionally, or not a marathon. Maybe I would never run a marathon, but like doing a little bit more of a long journey, long hike in the woods, as opposed to a quick little jaunt to the park. It can be fun sometimes, but as far as being effective for what I'm trying to do, which is actually give people real guidance and real affirmations, I find the 3 or 4 cards to be more quick. They get to the point quicker, and they get us across the finish line quicker. So, all right. So I'll stop for now. See you guys next time. Bye.